Pieter Mauritz Retief was a Voortrekker leader, settling in 1814 in the frontier region of the Cape Colony. He assumed command of punitive expeditions in response to raiding parties from the adjacent Xhosa territory. He became a spokesperson for the frontier farmers who voiced the discontent, and wrote the Voortrekkers declaration at their departure from the colony. He was a leading figure during the Great Trek, and at one stage their elected governor. He proposed Natal as the final destination of the migration and selected a location for its future capital, later named Pieter Mauritz in his honor. The massacre of Retief and his delegation by the Zulu king Dingaan and the extermination of several Voortrekker lager camps led to the Battle of Blood River on the Encombe River. The short-lived Boer Republic Natalia suffered from ineffective government and succumbed to British annexation. Early life. Retief was born to Jacobus and Deborah Retief in the Wagenmakers Valley, Cape Colony, today the town of Wellington, South Africa. His family were Boers of French Huguenot ancestry. His great-grandfather was the 1689 Huguenot refugee François Retief, from Mer, Loire near Blois, the progenitor of the name in South Africa. Retief grew up on the ancestral vineyard Welvenpa, where he worked until the age of 27. After moving to the vicinity of Grahamstown, Retief, like other Boers, acquired wealth through livestock, but suffered repeated losses from Xhosa raids in the period. These prompted the Sixth Cape Frontier War. Such losses impelled many frontier farmers to become Voortrekkers and to migrate to new lands in the north. Retief wrote the manifesto, dated the 22nd of January 1837, setting out the long-held grievances against the British government. They believed it had offered them no protection against armed raids by the native Bantus, no redress against foreign government policies, and financially broke them through the Slavery Abolition Act 1833, which freed the slaves, with compensation offered to owners, which hardly amounted to a quarter of the slaves' market value. Retief's manifesto was published in the Grahamstown Journal on the 2nd of February and in Zuid-Afrikaan on the 17th of February, just as the emigrant Boers started to leave their homesteads. Great Trek. Retief's household departed in 2 wagons from his farm in the Winterberg district in early February 1837 and joined a party of 30 other wagons. The pioneers crossed the Orange River into independent territory. When several parties on the Great Trek converged at the Vet River, Retief was elected governor of the United Lagers and head of the Free Province of New Holland in Southeast Africa. Quote, "This coalition was very short-lived, and Retief became the lone leader of the group moving east. On the 5th of October 1837, Retief established a camp of 54 wagons at Kirkenberg near the Drakensberg Ridge. He proceeded on horseback the next day, accompanied by Jan Gerritse Bantjes and 14 men with 4 wagons, to explore the region between the Drakensberg and Port Natal, now known as KwaZulu-Natal. This was Bantjes's second visit to Port Natal, his first having been there in 1834 on the Commissatrek reconnaissance mission. Retief returned to the Laager with a message to the camp on the 2nd of November 1837, announcing to the trekkers that they may now enter Natal. Due to his favorable impression of the region, Retief started negotiations for land with the Zulu king Dingaan Kasanzangakona in November 1837. After Retief led his band over the Drakensberg Mountains, he convinced Voortrekker leaders Gerrit Maritz and Andries Hendrik Potgieter to join him in January 1838. On Retief's second visit to Dingaan, the Zulu agreed to Boer settlement in Natal, provided that the Boer delegation recover cattle stolen by the rival Tokwa nation. This the Boers did, the reputation and rifles cowing the people into handing over some 700 head of cattle. At Retief's request, J. G. Bantjes drew up the famous Piet Retief Dingaan Treaty outlining the areas of Natal to be secured for the Boers to settle and start the new farms and harbour. This was done and to be ratified at the Zulu King's Kraal. Despite warnings, Retief left the Tugela region on the 28th of January 1838, in the belief that he could negotiate with Dingaan for permanent boundaries for the Natal settlement. The deed of cession of the Tugela Umzimvubu region, although dated the 4th of February 1838, was signed by Dingaan on the 6th of February 1838, with the two sides recording 3 witnesses each. Dingaan invited Retief's party to witness a special performance by his soldiers, whereupon Dingaan ordered his soldiers to capture Retief's party and the coloured servants. Retief, his son, men, and servants, about 100 people in total, were taken to a nearby ridge, Lomo Amabuto, which means mustering of the soldiers. The Zulus killed the entire party by clubbing them and killed Retief last, so as to witness the deaths of his comrades. The bodies were left on the Kwamatawani hillside to be eaten by vultures and scavengers, as was Dingaan's custom with his enemies. Dingaan then directed the attack against the Voortrekker lagers, which plunged the migrant movement into temporary disarray, and in total 534 men, women and children were killed. Following the decisive Voortrekker victory at Blood River, Andries Pretorius and his victory commando recovered the remains of the Retief party. They buried them on the 21st of December 1838. Also recovered was the undamaged deed of cession from Retief's leather purse, written by Jan Gerrit C. Bantjes, Retief's secretary, as later verified by a member of the Victory Commando, E. F. Podgwita. 2 exact copies survive, but legend states the original deed disappeared in transit to the Netherlands during the Anglo-Boer War. The site of the Retief grave was more or less forgotten until pointed out in 1896 by J.H. Hatting, a surviving member of Pretorius's commando. A monument recording the names of the members of Retief's delegation was erected near the grave in 1922. Legacy. The town of Piet Retief was named after him, as was the city of Pieter Mauritz Retief. It is reported by the Voortrekker minister of the time, Erasmus Smit, whom served with Piet Retief, in his diary, that on the 23rd of October 1838, the Voortrekker Council of the legislative body, has named the first village settlement Pieter Mauritz Retief. The first name is after the late deceased His Excellency Pieter Retief, formerly the governor, and the second name is after His Honour the late deceased G.M. Mauritz, the president of the Council of Policy in the camp. Some, however, continue to speculate that the Mauritz part was a naming after Gerrit Mauritz, another Voortrekker leader, from the start. However, Pieter Mauritz Retief was originally Pieter Mauritz Retief, thereby incorporating both Retief's first and second name. It was only afterwards that the U was dropped and it was decreed that Mauritz also be remembered in the title. Rhodes University has a residence named after Retief in Kimberley Hall. Gallery.